Welcome back. Well, in response to our video 2 days ago about getting started with selling on eBay, I got a lot of questions from viewers, and some of them are probably things that a lot of people would like to know. So I thought we would do a follow-up today. Today's video is eBay questions from viewers. So we'll be right back and we will get into it. Okay, well, we've got to check in with our friends before we do that. And for those of you who are not familiar with the book, it is called English as She Is Spoke, and it was written by a couple of lovely Portuguese gentlemen in 1855 who did not speak a word of English, yet they took it upon themselves to create a dictionary and phrase book for their countrymen traveling in the English-speaking world. And today I thought we would follow them to the doctors because we did the dentist last time. So we're going to start with the heading diseases. The apoplexy, the asthma, the colic, the diarrhea, I think that's diarrhea, the scrofulous, the bloody flux, the fluxion, the itch, the gout, the jaundice, the melancholy, the Magerr, maybe it's Meagream, the Whitlow, okay, the rheumatismy, the vomitory. I like that last one. Now, we can't do diseases without doing remedies. And boy, this is some scary stuff. The antimony, which for those of you who are not familiar, is a metal that is often used as a fireproofing agent, and clearly a remedy as well. The cataplasm, the cautery, going back to the old days when the best way to heal a wound was to slap a hot iron on it. The lint, the decoction, the diet, the plaster, the gargarism, the marshmallow, the incision, the infusion, the laudanum, the clyster. That's the enema, by the way. I looked it up. The medicine, the mercury, as if the antimony wasn't bad enough. The ointment, the opiate, in case the laudanum wasn't enough. The pill, the rhubarb, the bleeding, the leeches, the senna, the syrup, the treacle, and once again, the vomitory. I have no idea how people survived the 19th century. I think it's a miracle that any of us are alive today because our grandparents should have all been dead long before they gave birth to our parents. So, let's get into our questions. First of all, do you have to have a PayPal account in order to sell on eBay? Technically, no, you don't. But you do have to have the ability to take electronic payments. So if you don't have a PayPal account, you need to be able to take Visa, MasterCard, Discover, whatever. If you don't have a PayPal account, it will cost you buyers. There are a lot of people who just run everything through their PayPal account and don't even think twice about it when they're buying on eBay. So even though technically you don't have to, I would really strongly advise you to become one with PayPal. It really will cost you business if you don't. The other thing is, if you use eBay shipping, and I strongly suggest you do this because they have the best shipping rates out there, the money will come straight from your PayPal account. So when your buyer makes the purchase, the money goes into your PayPal account, and you can draw on the shipping amounts. And if you're using your own system, Discover, MasterCard, whatever, you will have to, you won't be able to use the PayPal based shipping, and you won't be able to use eBay shipping. Now, when I sell on Etsy, I use PayPal shipping because, again, it's the best. It's eBay's system. It is the cheapest. I have tried Pirate Ship, and I do check them. And I think perhaps one time out of 50, Pirate Ship can beat PayPal. Other than that, PayPal is far and away the best. And as I say, that's eBay's shipping. So do you have to use PayPal? Technically, no, but please do consider it. Your buyers are going to expect it, and it will make your life easier. Estimating shipping costs. Now, some people are really good at this. Jocelyn can do this like right off the top of her head. She will look at something and just bang, there's the shipping costs. I do not. When I get an item together for shipping and I want to sell it, I take my item, I take the box I plan to ship it in, stick the item in the box, grab a handful of packing materials, shove it in, stick it on the scale, voila, there you go. Sometimes, not all the time, because, if you do this, you can get yourself in trouble. I will pack the item as soon as I list it. In other words, once all the pictures are taken and so on, I'll just pack it up. But when I do that, I don't seal the box because you never know when a buyer is going to want an extra picture, and you never know if it's going to be a multiple purchase and you're going to need to take your item out of the box. That's what I mean when I say you can get yourself in trouble. You're unpacking things because someone has purchased 3 items and they want combined shipping. You have to ship everything together. So that doesn't happen often. I'm not that I don't have people who will buy more than one item, but since I never seal the boxes until they're ready to go out, it's usually not that much of a hardship to take the item out of the box, add it to other items in another box, or if I need to take additional photos, just unwrap it, grab whatever photos I need. That is rare. Usually if you take good photos, you don't often have a situation in which you need to take extras. But some buyers do want pictures. They might want a close-up of something that just hasn't occurred to you. So yeah, it can make some work for you. On the other hand, if you have items that you are selling and you have tight storage space, packing those items in boxes, even if you don't seal the boxes, will keep your items safe, protected, in easily stackable boxes, save you on shipping space or storage space in your home, and shipping time when the package is ready to go out. Whenever I do that, I'll usually make a little note on the box, usually in pencil, what it is and what the weight is. But ordinarily, I find it sufficient to just grab the box, stick the item in without wrapping it, throw the wrapping on top, and then just say, okay, here's my weight. But do I estimate? No, I really go to the scale. Jocelyn estimates, and it works for her, but I don't have a sense of how much things weigh. Now, if you do and you're comfortable with that, great, go for it, because it will save you a lot of time if you're a good sort of calculator like that. And I have no idea what's going to work best for you, but this is what works best for me. Can you run an eBay business with your cell phone? Once again, I'm citing Jocelyn, who did exactly that for years. However, she and her cell phone are like conjoined twins. Honestly, it's like they are part of the same entity. She loves that phone. That phone is with her every minute of every day. I'm sure she sleeps with it under her pillow. I'm jealous of it. I think it's going to become her best friend one day. She ran her eBay business through her cell phone exclusively for years. She took her pictures with the cell phone. She just went online, wrote up her listings. I've been with her when we've been in antique shops, and she snapped pictures of items in the shop, put it up on eBay, and by the time we hit the cash register, she's already had bids. So if you're good with your cell phone, yes, absolutely. I do not believe, however, that you can run postage through your cell phone. I think for that, because you have to have a printer, and for all I know, there are new smartphones out there that will have Wi-Fi connections directly to new fancy printers, but that's where I see the holdup coming in, where you would benefit from a computer and a printer, because if you can print off your own shipping labels from eBay's system, you will save a lot of money on shipping. And I don't mean a little, I mean a lot of money on shipping. eBay says they save on average 22%. I would not be surprised. I also think their shipping actually saves more on some packages. But again, 22% is probably just an average. So can you do it? Sure, absolutely. But you have to be comfortable with your cell phone. You have to be good on it. You have to be good at taking pictures with it. But yeah, you can do it. Phone, eBay, done. Let's see. Buying and selling accounts. Do you benefit from having separate buying and selling accounts? I have always maintained a separate buying and selling account. I have one account I buy from, one account I sell from. That's always worked for me. And there are a lot of reasons for it. This goes back to a time when feedback was not closely regulated on eBay. And if I made a purchase and I left negative feedback for a seller, I had to be concerned about whether or not they would buy an inexpensive item I was selling and leave negative feedback for me in retaliation. I was never caught in a situation like that, so I don't know how common that is. I knew other people who claimed they were. I took their complaints seriously and separated those two functions. But is it necessary? No, absolutely not. Same thing with having an eBay store. No, absolutely not necessary. An eBay store is something you probably want to work your way up to. You're probably going to do your first sales out of an ordinary buying and selling account, and then store when you feel like you've gone to that point, when you have enough business so that you can benefit from the extra perks you get for having a store. And that means you're turning a lot of product, you're getting a lot of sales, in which case, congratulations. But do you need that to begin with? No, not at all. But buying and selling accounts, it's up to you. I do it. I don't think it's necessary anymore, because I did this back in the days when things were different on eBay. And again, I did it based on other people's feedback. I'd always rather learn my lessons from somebody else's mistakes, which is why I say, you learn from me. Let me screw up so you don't have to. But it's probably not necessary. It is, however, something that I do. So your choice, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Packing slips. It's another question we got. I do not use packing slips. I put in a business card that has the name of my eBay shop on my eBay account on it, and it just says, thank you for your purchase, because I want people to know where it came from. And I use the same system with my Etsy shop. I throw in a card and that's it. I've done this for years. And the reason I do this is because with my doll business, a lot of my customers are overseas. And they can get into so much trouble if there is any mistake on the paperwork, the inventories. No. Also, doll buyers, I have to say this very carefully so I don't get any of my doll buyers in trouble. Doll buyers are mostly women, and many of them would just as soon that their husbands not find out how much they're spending on dolls. So if I send a doll out to someone and I have a little business card in there, fine, no problem. If I have a packing slip and it says they just spent $600 on a doll, well, somebody could end up in divorce court. So this is it's just the way I prefer to do it, to keep the transaction completely private. It's between me and the customer running through their eBay account and nowhere else. So if a customs agent opens the box, they see my card, but they do not have a packing slip. That's just for the protection of my overseas buyers. In some cases, announcing to the world what an item cost. Well, our postal services are fairly safe here. There are postal services in other countries where that's practically an invitation to theft. The world isn't always as safe as we would like it to be. And again, as I say, some of my doll buyers would really, they would have massive heart attacks if hubby ever found out how much that doll cost. So that's how I do it. Most of the people I buy from, however, do in fact include packing slips. So I would say it's up to you, but also consider your market. Is a packing slip going to hurt your buyers? If you have buyers who are likely to want to hide the transactions from their loved ones for whatever reason, and our job as eBay sellers is not to give them marriage counseling, because we can all say, but you should be honest with your husband. I'm not getting into that. That's their business. And I don't want to be the cause of anybody's fight. And I don't want to lose a customer simply because I insist on making that information available to anybody who might happen to open the package at their house. So we all have our reasons for doing things. That's the decision that I make, and do it any way you want to. Is the packing slip necessary? No, absolutely not. I do not use it, and I'm not going to use it. As I say, my experience with doll buyers has taught me that lesson over the years. No, let people sort out who they want to tell, what they've spent on a doll. That's just, stay away from that. It's just, that's icky business. We don't need to get our feet dirty in that. All right, next up, what to sell? Well, I've gotten some viewer feedback, people who are just looking around their homes, selling things that they have that they no longer want. People who've just retired, who have a fabulous work wardrobe of wonderful clothing in great condition. Hey, go for it. Other people who have collected odds and ends over the years, they want to downsize. Perfect. You can sell the most incredible stuff on eBay, just things that you wouldn't think of. You can sell empty jam jars on eBay. There is an empty jam jar market on eBay. You really can sell almost anything. Are your kids grown up and gone? They don't want their old toys. There is a market for that on eBay. So if you're thinking of things you would like to sell, take a look at the things that you have that are no longer of interest or value to you. Do you have a bookcase full of books? If you sold off a few of those books, you could buy some new ones. Take a look at what you have first and foremost. It's an easy way to get your feet wet in the market. Okay, categories. Now, we touched on this briefly, but I got some viewer feedback on this. I shop in two ways on eBay. When I go in, if I want, for example, let's say I want flashlight batteries. I go in, I type batteries into the little search engine box, bang, batteries come up. I don't search that by category. If I'm searching for my own collection, I go into, dolls and bears, Barbies, vintage Barbies pre-1967, and I will go through eBay's categories. So since I search both ways for different purposes, I have to say, I think categorizing your listings is very important. The other thing is, even though when I go in and I'm looking at like vintage Barbies or something and I'm going right through the category, when I list my vintage Barbies as a seller, I put them in that category, but the first two words of my listing are vintage Barbie, because I want to make sure that whoever is looking for this finds it, however they search. If they are going into the category, if they are just typing in, I want to make sure I catch them. So I would say that regardless of how you want to list your items, and many items can be listed in a variety of categories, definitely your first 2-3 words should be a clear description of your item. I was just talking about used gem jars. Whatever category you put it in, gem jar ought to be right there. Do not assume that the pictures are going to do it. Do not assume that because you have found that obscure gem jar category that you don't need to say it. Do not assume it is repetitive. Just make sure people can find your item regardless of how they are searching, and usually just 1 or 2 words, and these are usually going to be category-specific words, will do it. So, vintage Barbie, and then I would go on to describe the doll. I would also say eBay gives you a lot of space for your description. You really can write a lengthy description just in your title. Use up as much as you can, because that will enable your item to come up. So instead of just gem jar, and let it go at that, gem jar embossed with peach design, made in USA, I'd throw all of that in. I would throw as much of my description into the title as I could. And don't forget things like perfect condition, mint condition, etc. Just remember that people, you have seconds to catch their attention. The first thing that's going to catch the attention is that title, because the words are going to trigger the search. Then your pictures will. So use that title, use it to the fullest extent. When you go into your listing, you're going to give a detailed description. See how much of that you can get in the title, and don't worry about being repetitive. Mint. Another question was, what does new with tags mean? And while we're talking about this, I'm going to throw in a little extra. New with tags means that it is new and it has the manufacturer's tag. It does not have to have the price tag, but new with tags does have to have the tag from the manufacturer. That's called NWT. That's the abbreviation. There are some others. M is mint. NM, sometimes it's N/M, near mint. EXC, excellent. TLC, Tender loving care, that's the opposite of excellent. That means the item needs work. NRFB, not removed from box or never removed from box. That's a big deal with some collectible dolls and other collectible items. You will see a lot of these. If you come across something that you haven't seen before, shoot it up in the comments and we'll look it up for you. But those are the ones you are going to see. Oh, NOS, new old stock. I'm trying to think. There are so many of them. So if you come up with something, shoot it in. I'm giving you the big ones, but there are many, many abbreviations. And if that applies to your item, throw it right in there. You know, if it's never been removed from the box, say that. NRFB. If it's in mint condition, mint. Near mint, NM. Just go for it. Handling time. I would strongly suggest you do your best to keep your handling time under 3 business days. Sundays are not counted against you as there's no mail service. But if you go beyond 3 days, you can be costing yourself customers. These days, with mail pickup right at your door, so many people are accustomed to next day shipping, a 24-hour handling time, that people are starting to look at handling time, at delivery dates. If yours is not good, they'll go on to the next seller. I would say 3 days is maximum. My own all along has always been 1 day. You know, if you buy it from me on Monday, it's in the mail on Tuesday. It makes a difference. It really does. However, keep in mind, if you do not meet your stated handling time, eBay will ding you. So just make sure your time is something that is reasonable, that you can meet your handling time, and then keep it as tight as you can. And for that, what can I say? I'm blind, I don't drive, and I can still get my packages in the mail in 24 hours. So if I can do it, you can do it. Shoot for 24 hours. But once you state it, you've got to live with it, because your customers will hurt you in the feedback. And as I say, eBay will ding you if you are out of line in your shipping times. But do your best on that one. And the final question that we're going to deal with today, it's not our final question, it's just our final question for today, is global shipping. And this is eBay's international shipping program. And if you use global shipping, let's say you are selling your gem jar to somebody in France. There are 2 ways you can do it. You can print up your shipping label. You can send it to France first class. It's just a gem jar. This is going to be the least expensive way for your buyer. It's possible it's going to be a little more troublesome for you because you're responsible for it until it ends up in France. eBay's global shipping, if you use that program, you ship your item to a clearinghouse, I believe it's in Kentucky, and then they take care of it from there. They ship it off to wherever it needs to go. And once your item hits Kentucky, you're off the hook. eBay takes responsibility for the rest of the way. It's a lot more expensive for your customers. So on one hand, if you have a lot of international customers, shipping yourself, not using global, just doing your own labeling, it's going to be a little more work for you. And you are going to be responsible for the item arriving safely. Although, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how that's any different. Arriving safely in Paris, arriving safely in Lexington, Kentucky, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much the same thing. But it's less expensive for your customers. So because I have a lot of doll buyers, especially in France and Germany, I do not use global shipping. It's just too expensive for them. And I don't want to lose sales because they are being overcharged for shipping. Because if I can ship the doll over for $25, but eBay charges them $40, you've got to know they're going to look for the seller who's willing to ship it out for $25 because it's a lot of money they're spending otherwise. Whether or not to use global shipping is something you're going to have to find out for yourself. That you'll just feel your way through it. Jocelyn loves global shipping. I won't touch it. But I will say this, when you put up your listings, eBay defaults to global shipping. So you have to remove that. You have to remove it every time. I do. I don't have a problem with it. I will save my customers the money. And I have never had a situation on an international sale when I've said to myself, gee, if I had used global shipping, this problem wouldn't have arisen. No, it's never happened. I have never been in a situation where I thought it would have done me enough good, or any good at all, really, but enough good to justify an extra $15 to $30 on my customer's end. Just hasn't happened. And this brings up, I said this was the last question. All right, what's the next last question? Should you sell internationally or should you sell domestically just in the U.S.? That depends. In some cases, you might very well want to do some of your items local shipping only, large, fragile, heavy glassware. I don't think I would be inclined to ship those things overseas. I think the possibility of damage would be too great, especially if I were dealing with a country that has problematic shipping. And my Canadian viewers are going to hate me for this one, but I will tell you Canada is among the worst countries for shipping because in my lifetime only, Canada has had over 24 postal strikes, as opposed to one, and it was Wildcat, in the United States in the 70s, and I think one in the UK in that same period. You really need to take a look at how reliable the overseas shipping is. If you're going to sell to a country and you don't know, look up their postal service on the internet. Try to find out. I have considered making insurance mandatory on any Canadian shipments because I am so afraid of their postal system. And it's nothing against the Canadians. It's just that I believe it was 26 strikes in the last 60-some years. That's a lot. And the last thing I want to do is find myself in a situation where I have an item that is locked up in a Canadian post office when they're on a job action. So consider whether or not you want to sell internationally. You may want to sell to some countries, maybe not others. This is all up to you as a seller. But the biggest determining factor should be how reliable is that country's postal system. Do your homework on this. If they have a good postal system, sure, why not? If they have a sketchy and unreliable postal system, please think twice, because that could really turn out to be a major headache for you and a great disappointment for your customer. So please forgive me, Canadians. It's not you. It's your postal service. All right. I will see you all next week. Have a great week and just be happy out there. Let's enjoy it. We've just set our clocks back. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if we got an extra hour or lost an hour. I'm not even sure how this works. There is a bill before the Pennsylvania legislature, actually 2 bills, to deal with daylight savings time. I don't know. I probably would find my life a lot less confusing without it. Geez, I'm getting cranky in my old age. I will see you all next weekend.